recording. All right, guys, super excited. Bear with us if you can hear us. We are going live for the first time on Facebook and YouTube with Pencil Leadership. So this is kind of like a test and seeing how it goes. But super excited today to have Glenn Lundy on the show. Glenn, I got your name right?
Yeah, you did.
Perfect.
Man.
Make sure. Awesome. Cool. Well, guys, this is a super exciting guest we have today. Glenn used to work at an automotive dealership where he grew that dealership 800% over 5 years. Now he currently stepped away from that in 2018 to be able to consult with multiple dealerships. He's with 34 of them right now, helping them achieve high levels of success. And so it's super exciting. He also has a podcast called Rise and Grind, where he does a morning episode every day, and he's close. He's, I think, 2 episodes away from hitting 600 episodes, and it's just massively growing, full of motivation and inspiration. So guys, check out Rise and Grind when you get the chance. But on top of that, he is also a husband and a father to 7 children. So this guy's like basically a superhero. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So super excited to have him on the show. Glenn, welcome to Pencil Leadership.
Hey, thank you, man. It's an honor to be here. Super glad to be here. Love your setup there. I don't know if you're seeing it on your side. I'm getting like you're like freezing up on the screen there. So I don't know if that'll matter because you're recording it as a podcast, I think, right?
Yeah, so the audio hopefully will be all right. But yeah we'll see how the video looks. Perfect.
But cool. Yeah, man. Super stoked to be here. Let's rock and roll. I love it.
Absolutely. So yeah, I guess kind of just tell us how you were able to grow that first dealership you were with 800%. I think that's a really cool story.
Oh, well, thanks, man. Yeah. So I'm in the automotive industry. I kind of have 2 seasons of my life. I have a season of my life in the automotive industry where it was your standard car guy career. I worked 78 hours a week. I got my teeth kicked in all the time by my managers. I made poor choices, made bad decisions, things like that. I never, I always had customers in I always wanted to take care and concern for my customers, but as far as like my life outside of the dealership, it was awful and just things like that. So I had that season of my automotive career, and it led me to a point where I hated it. I didn't want anything to do with the car business. And so I got out for a little while, went through this whole figure yourself out, soul searching life dig. And then when I came out of the other side of that, I met my now wife. We had our first child, and I went back in. And so when I went in this second time back into the auto industry, I went in with a different mindset that, hey, I am not going to go back and do things like I did before. I'm not going to live that cycle again. Instead, I'm going to go in and try to make an impact in this industry. And so literally when I first started at this dealership in this small town, so just imagine this tiny little town. It's got 9,600 people, right? Literally 9,600 people.
Wow.
The biggest deal. It was a huge deal because they put a Walmart in there, and there was one grocery store called Ken's, which ultimately Ken's ended up going out of business because of the Walmart. But like tiny little place, right? It's got like 5 restaurants that you can eat. And here's this tiny little dealership that's been there for 50 something years. And so when I started at that dealership, I just made a list of everything that I hated before working in the car industry and everything that I thought customers hated being, when it came to buying a car, and just made a commitment right there at that point to do the opposite of all of those things. Just do the exact opposite, 180 degrees. If we do the opposite of all of that, we should have success. So by focusing on our people and hiring great people and putting champions in incredible positions and training them and developing an amazing culture and extracting the greatness from within each of them on an individual level, by focusing on that, we were able to have massive success. So this dealership went from selling 120 cars a month, which is what they had been doing for decades. They went from selling 120 cars a month to March of 2018. We sold 1,043 cars in 27 business days. So we grew this dealership from just your normal run-of-the-mill average 100 car a month store to the
Jeez.
second largest used car franchise dealership in the country,
Wow.
just by really extracting greatness out of our people, man.
That's awesome. And I love that. So basically you saw the potential, you saw what maybe they didn't. So how did you go about, I'm curious, getting the people on board with the change, and go about kind of pulling that greatness out of them?
Well, there's a process that I truly believe in. I think it works. I think it's very effective, and I think everybody should know and understand this if you're going to be in any type of leadership position.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first got there, first thing that I had to do is I went in sales. Even though I had a history in management and so on and so forth, I went in as a salesperson originally and
Okay.
proved myself on the floor, showed them that I could do the job better, or at least as good, if not better, than everybody else on the floor.
Yeah.
And so I sold for a while, and I earned that next leadership position. And once I got
Okay.
into that position, it opened up some doors and so on and so forth. But there's a process that I follow that I like to teach everybody. And it's this process called LEAD, LEADD. There's
Okay.
two D's in lead. People are like,
Perfect.
why is there two D's in lead? Well, I'll explain it. The process is this: the L stands for listen. We've been given two ears, one mouth.
Mm,
So my focus was always to listen to my people. What are they telling me? What do they need? What is missing? What's going on in their life? What do they care about? What motivates them? What are their concerns? What are their anxieties? What are their fears? What excites them? I get all that through listening. I don't have to go up and say, "Hey, Chris, what motivates you?" I don't
yeah.
have to say that, right? Instead, I just listen. I'm in the room with you and I listen to the things that you're talking about when you're talking to your buddies, when you're talking to your friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm keenly aware. I'm looking around. I'm looking at your books on the back of your shelf there. I'm looking at the different things. I'm going, okay, he's a self-help guy and he's motivated by this and so on and so forth, right? So I'm listening to people. That's the first step of leadership.
Love it.
The E stands for encourage. So once I've listened, now I want to turn around. I want to make sure to encourage you. I don't want to listen to Chris and Chris goes, "Hey, Glenn, I'm really, worried about my girlfriend. Her and I are have been struggling for a little while, and she keeps calling me, and I'm trying to focus on work, but she's just killing me." And most managers will be like, "Well, turn your phone off. Leave that
Right.
crap at home. You just you gotta focus on work when you're focus on your stuff at home when you're no. I listen and then I encourage. I say, "Hey,
Mm,
Chris, I understand that you're probably going through some things, man. I went through some things too. Me and my girl, golly, bro, we struggled. It was crazy. It wasn't until I realized that fighting with her wasn't gonna ever get me anywhere. And I just had to be a
mm,
shoulder for her to lay on. And if I could just listen to her and allow her to do her thing, then we could move forward and through these things, right? So I'm gonna encourage you, Chris, that things are going to get better.
that's
That's much
awesome.
better,
I
right?
love
Than
it. Oh
just get your
yeah.
ass back to work, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. That is so much better. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So
So these first two, like, man, this week I've been really getting hit with this kind of stuff, like just coming back and learning, like listen first and see things and then correlate that to encouragement. So I think the first two right there are almost enough, but I'm excited for the rest of it.
yeah, we start there. We want to listen, then we want to encourage. Now we've put this person in a certain vibration. They feel heard. They feel special. They feel important. They feel like they're the only one in the room because we're
Yeah.
paying attention to them. You're encouraging them. Everybody loves encouragement from the time you're a child. They're like, "Yay, you pee-peed on the potty." We're like, "Yeah." Right? Like we
Right.
love encouragement. So we've done that now. So now that I've listened to you, Chris, and I've encouraged you, Chris, now at this point I can advise you. The
Mm,
A is advise. So now I can say, all right, Chris, I heard what you said about your girl. I encouraged you that things are going to get a little bit better. But what I'd advise you to do right now, Chris, is why don't we just take your phone? Why don't you let me hold on to it for a couple hours? I'm just going to hold on to it. It'll be fine. And what I want you to do is I want you to go over and jump into some of your Grant Cardone training, or why don't you jump on calls for an hour? Let's just see if we can't get you a good lead,
yeah.
that type of thing. So now I can advise you. Now I have the right to say, I'm going to take your phone, right? But I'm doing it in a different way. I can advise you at this point because I have listened and I have encouraged, and you need some advice. So
Yeah.
now I'm going to advise you if you're doing something wrong. If I'm a leader, I'm talking to my team and they screwed up yesterday, right? Like in the dealership world, The worst thing you can do is leave the lot and not go pull the handles. You got to make sure all the
Oh,
cars are locked, right? It's a big deal in
yeah.
the automotive world.
Yeah.
You got this whole lot, all these cars, right? And nobody ever wants to go pull
Oh,
the handles. Who wants to
right.
do that? Right. But it's a big deal. So if your
Mm,
team, you go in the next day, you realize your team didn't pull handles, you listen, then you encourage. Now you can go, look, guys, I freaking walked the lot last night, dude. I found 19 cars unlocked. Like, bro, come on, man. This is our house. Like, we got to take care of this place, right? I
mm,
can do that now. And you'll listen to me because I listened to you and I
mm.
encouraged you. So now you will reciprocate and you will listen instead of getting defensive and going, well, dude, we were freaking busy and blah, 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 blah. Instead, you're like, yeah, he's right. We
Yeah.
probably should have done that. That's that my bad, right? And that's what we want. We want our employees to take some responsibility. So we listen, we encourage, we advise. And then the next D is develop. So once
Mm,
I tell you what you did wrong or what you can be doing or what you're doing wrong or advise you in a different direction, now I have the responsibility to develop you, right?
yeah.
So hey Chris, I'm going to hold your phone for a little while. Let's go. Why don't you go jump on some calls or jump on some training so that we can get you a win? You need a win right now. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go with you. Let me show you the right way to make a call. Let me show you the right way to prospect. You've been
Mm,
calling, you've been dialing, you haven't had much success. I recognize that. So let me develop your phone skills. Let's use these types of words. Let's role play, right? So now we want to develop. I just don't want to tell you what to do, and you might suck at it. And then you don't want to tell me because you work for me. So you
yeah.
don't want to be like, well, Glenn, I really suck on the phones,
Right.
bro.
Right.
Right? You don't want to say that. You're just gonna be like, yeah, sure. And then you're gonna go sit there on the phone and go, God, I don't want to call anybody because I suck on the phone. You don't want to tell nobody that. So it's my responsibility to develop you. Anything I advise you to do, I got to develop that for you and help
Mm,
you grow that muscle. Right.
for
And then the
sure.
last D in lead, the reason there's two D's is daily.
Daily.
You have to do this daily as a leader. You have to listen, encourage, advise, and develop. Listen, encourage, advise, and develop. Listen, encourage, advise, and develop. Listen, encourage, advise, and develop every single day. And by doing that, we were able to take this team of people, extract greatness out of them. We listened to their needs. We encouraged them every day. We
Mm.
advised them on where they were weak, and we developed their strengths and their muscles. We did it daily, and by doing so, we just created this elite team of incredible superhumans that are able to do things no one had ever seen before in the automotive industry.
That's awesome. I love the acronym and everything. And it's so spot on. And how you have to do the first two. You have to listen, you have to encourage, before really you have that trust with the individual, before you can even have a position to advise or to give constructive criticism or present anything to anyone. Do
That's
you
right.
do you teach the people you help or consult to do the same thing when they might be reaching out to like a prospect or anything like that? Do they need to go through the same steps?
It's the exact same process. Anytime you're wanting to lead anyone,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be, say I'm trying to I'm trying to close a customer, right? I'm trying to
Yeah.
close a deal. I got to do the exact same thing. I got to listen, encourage, advise, and develop. Somebody comes in, they say, "Hey, I want a four-wheel drive Silverado. It's $70,000, and I want my payment to be $200 a month, and I've got no money down, and my trade-ins. I'm 10 grand upside down in that." I'm gonna listen to that. I'm gonna be like,
Yeah.
dude, yeah, man, that really sounds like that sounds awesome, dude. I could see why you'd want a Silverado for $200 a month. Those trucks are awesome, dude. I would encourage the behavior. You should go for a Silverado. You need that. Like, you're gonna look good in that thing. And
That's
then at
awesome.
that point, now I can advise and go, but
Yeah.
to be honest with you, Chris, math wise, $200 times 72 months doesn't quite come to $70,000. So
Mm.
unless you've got a little different way of doing math, or maybe there's something you know of that I don't know, we're probably not going to be able to do that. However, let me show you what we can do, and then I educate you, right? I develop you.
Mm.
I'm on that last D. So let me show you what we can do at this point, and people will follow you if you follow that process, whether it be you trying to sell them something or you trying to them be one of your employees and you're trying to develop them. People will follow you.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's so awesome. So what got you to come up with this acronym, or what got your mindset changed to start following something like that?
Well, I think that I've got over 20 years in the industry, and I saw the wrong way to lead.
Mm.
I saw that. And then through study, through reading books, through John Maxwell's and Jim Rohn's
Yep.
and Les Brown's and Eric Thomas and Tony Robbins and
Oh yeah.
all of these guys, Zig and Napoleon Hill, and just really studying and learning what success really looks like. I started to develop my own style of leadership, that was uniquely, it was uniquely mine.
Mm.
And we started to get ridiculous results, man. We'd hire these young people, millennials, and just out of high school, and we'd follow, all of a sudden they'd just be crushing it, dude. They'd be killing it. And I'm a student, so I'm watching, I'm going, what are we doing right? What is working? Why
Yeah.
is this all happening? And it wasn't until later, more recently, here in the last couple of years, where now I'm writing books and I'm doing podcasts and I'm consulting other dealerships and so on and so forth. Now that I'm doing all these different things, I was like, I gotta take what we did and break this down into a way where I can share it in 5 minutes on a podcast.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of sat down and I was like, what are the steps? What did we do and how did we do it right? And I was able to put that acronym together, and it's been helping people, ever since.
Yeah. Sounds like, and that's so cool. And I know you mentioned your podcast. So like, what, besides sharing that acronym, was there other things that pushed you to starting that podcast?
Yeah, so Rise and Grind, I'm a firm believer if we can change the way people start their day,
Mm.
it'll make a massive impact in their life,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
studies have shown this, science has shown this, it's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
The way you start your day, and I do like to clarify, because people all think, I'm crazy. I wake up at 3:50 in the morning. So people are like, dude, I'm not waking up at 3:50. I'm not telling you to wake up at 3:50.
Right.
Whatever time you wake up, the first hour of how you spend that day is going to determine the outcome of your life.
Mm.
That's just fact. Your brain is firing. It's wanting to gobble up information the moment you wake up, and whatever information we gobble and whatever process we go through first thing in the morning will absolutely determine the outcome of your life. And so as I realized and understood that and was able to apply that in my life, and this desire that I have and have always had to share my wisdom, my knowledge, my story to impact others, I was like, how can I change the narrative in the morning for most people? Because the current
Yep.
narrative is wake up at the last second, jump onto my phone, slam a bunch of coffee, rush off to work, and be semi-productive all day and live an average and normal, I paycheck to paycheck kind of
Right.
lifestyle.
Mm.
And so that's the narrative. So I was like, well, how can I shift up that narrative a little bit? And I worked on this with my guys at the dealership. Like, we started creating morning basketball. We'd play basketball at 6:30 a.m. so that I could get the guys up
Nice.
early, right? So that
Yeah.
they'd start making better decisions the night before, was really the motivation. I'm like, dude, if you got to get up at, say, it's 5:30, you can't be out at the bar till 3. That ain't gonna
Right.
work.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Different choices.
Yeah. So by creating good, solid morning routines, I noticed it worked really well in my people. It worked really well for me. So I was like, well, how can I help more people? Well, there's nothing going on in the morning that's positive, right? Normally it's
Right.
all negative news and people died and
Yeah.
shootings and mass murders and all of this other stuff. So I was like, I got to create a space that is safe, that is only going to be motivation, education, and inspiration. It'll never be anything else. And instead of complaining that there's no place like that, I was like, I could just create it myself. I'll
Yeah.
just go live. And if there's 2 people that need to hop in and want to hear something positive and encouraging, then I'm going to be that guy. And so I just started, man. I just
That's
hit
awesome.
record, and I didn't really know what it was going to be or where it was going to go. But now here we are 2 years later, almost 600 episodes in. We have over 30,000 members in our Facebook group that are incredibly
Wow.
active. We've had live events. We sell clothes and
That's awesome.
planners, and it's been insane, dude. We've raised money for charities. We raised $110,000 in 24 hours once. Like,
That's
it's
so
just
cool.
been incredible. But really, the bottom line is, I just wanted to help people change the way they start their day.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted people to know that they're not alone, right? Like,
Yep.
a lot of people feel invisible, and I've been there. I've been depressed. I've been suicidal. I've been homeless. I've been in jail. I've been in all those places. And I just remember what it felt like to feel invisible. It sucks. It's
Yep.
awful. And so I wanted to create a place where people would know, hey, that guy Glenn is going to say my name like It's almost 5:30. No matter what I'm going through in my life, it's almost 5:30 a.m. and Glenn's going to say my name, and that's going to make me feel like I exist. And sometimes that's all we need to get through
Yeah,
that next day, right? Is to just know that
absolutely.
somebody sees us.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I really commend you for starting that because yeah, you're already doing so much and changing so many lives with it, and yeah, it just takes one little thing. And I'm a nerd, and so if you look at my books, you might be able to see my Lord of the Ring ones right here, Tolkien.
Right.
But like I always think of Lord of the Rings because the smallest individuals in that story, the hobbits, carried the biggest burden and made the biggest impact. And so you don't have to be some famous celebrity, some big shot in your corporation, or something like that. Everyone has a chance to make an impact. It's just what we do with our time, with our days, like you said, in our mornings. Do we choose to make an impact, or do we kind of see ourselves less than what we are? And so I think that's so cool. Just how you're making an impact to share and to guide and teach other people who can make an impact as well in their days.
Yeah, thanks, my man.
Yeah, no problem. So I mean, going forward, like what are you looking to do, looking to grow into in this year or years to come?
That's kind of a difficult question to answer, only because like I'm a dreamer, bro. I'm a
Yeah.
dreamer. I'm a
Yep.
big visionary, and sometimes I have to be really careful to stay present
I gotcha.
and be thankful for where I am. Um, last night I had an opportunity to interview, Grant Cardone again,
Awesome.
on a show that I did with a couple of buddies of mine that are incredible humans. And that was just really special, man.
Oh, I bet.
It was just really special. And then, this morning I've got all these people that join me at 5:30 a.m. It is such a blessing. It is so incredible to know that I can push the live button and
Mm,
join 80 or 100 or 1,000 people, man, and they cheer me on and they root for me and they support me and they buy my gear and my planners and they share my show, and my wife is healthy and strong and my kids are healthy and strong and we have a beautiful home, so I want and hope that God will continue to use my gifts and my talents to make an
mm,
impact in other people's lives. That's
for sure.
ultimately my desire. I have dreams of big stages and I have
Uh,
dreams of auditoriums and I have dreams of impact. I mean, millions and traveling in the world. And, I have all of those dreams. Those are definitely inside me. But if this was as far as it went, I would be so thrilled that God did what he did with this group and with me, even just up to this point. You know what I
that's
mean?
awesome. Absolutely. That's so cool. So I guess thinking from my perspective, because I haven't been doing this way less than a year. For people maybe just starting out who might be fearful or apprehensive about starting because they think they don't have a voice or they don't have a huge crazy story, but they still want to make an impact. How would you encourage them today to take that step and really put out what they can to help people?
Yeah, I think it's super important that before anybody jump into anything like this, I think the first thing that you have to do is you really have to check yourself. Like, what is your intention? What is the
Hmm.
reason? Why are you wanting to do this? Like, if you're like, oh, I'm going to create a podcast because I want to get rich and make a bunch of money and get famous, well, then just stop now. Like,
Right.
just stop. It doesn't work like that. And it doesn't work like that for two reasons. One, if everybody that just wanted to get famous got famous, then everyone would be famous. But
Right.
the
Yeah.
second reason it doesn't work is it sucks, dude, when you put in a ton of work and you create something phenomenal,
Hmm.
and then you go back and look and like four people watched it, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
golly, if your intentions are views and looks and reach, if that's your intention, then it's
Yeah.
going to break your heart. And you're like, I'm not doing that again. I'm not,
Right.
I quit. I'm not going to go through all that production value. I'm not going to do all that stuff to have four people watch. But
Watch.
there's actually
Man.
TD Jakes talks about this in one of his videos, and he's referring to a Bible verse, but I can't remember exactly which Bible verse. But
Uh-huh.
he says in the video, he says, if you can't give 110% when there's 4 people in the room, then God's never going to give you 40.
Yep.
And what he was referring to is, the dream of speaking to 4,000 or 40,000 or 400,000 or 4 million. That dream only is realized by those that give the exact same intensity to the 4.
Right.
It's it. And
Yep.
so my encouragement would be, everyone has a unique gift. Everyone has a unique voice, and together, you've heard it before. You've heard it in churches, you've heard it in the video of all the people in Italy singing from the banners.
Yeah.
You've seen it when all the voices come together. It's always beautiful. Now, dude can't sing, and this girl, her voice is awful, and that guy over there sounds like a freaking mule that's like dying, right? Like,
Yeah.
everybody's voices individually can sound awful, right? But
Yep.
together it makes this beautiful, incredible sound and picture that is so impactful. And that's
Mm.
how that's all God's design. So
Yeah.
your unique mule sound or
Yeah.
cow
Oh
or
yeah.
whatever that is
Right.
valuable to the overall. It's valuable to the masses. And so everyone has a voice, everyone has a gift. We're all designed to make an impact in other people's lives. Just make sure that you have your intentions right before you ever hit go. And when your intentions are in check, if you let your light shine, you too will be able to impact other people's lives.
That's awesome, man. I love that so much. And yeah, yeah, we definitely have a purpose for being here, and I
That's right.
think we need to see it and use it. I'm grateful for your time on the show, Glenn. And I like to ask a couple, 1 or 2 questions, but I'll end it with one because you've answered the other one. But if it was the end of your time here on Earth, and everything was over, and you can only pick one message, one mark that you could leave, what would that one mark or one message be that you leave on the earth?
And the biggest thing I would want people to know is that we're most comfortable in life right before death.
Mm.
You see, I had an experience where I got a phone call. My grandfather was on his way out. He was dying
Mm.
from cancer. And my grandfather was a military man. There was never a day that went by that I didn't see him wearing a tie. He was the kind of guy that he was married to my grandmother at that point for 49 years. She had never had a job. She had never had a driver's license. She always knew that my grandpa was going to take care of things, and he did. He
Yeah.
was an incredible provider, an
Hmm.
incredible military man. And so when he was dying from cancer, it was painful for all of us. He was foundational. He was a superhuman in my eyes.
Yeah.
And so we got the call that he was passing away, and it took a while for everybody in the family to get there. I come from a military family, so we're all spread out. It
Yeah.
took a while for everybody to get to the hospital. So from initial phone call to the final point where my Aunt Julie showed up, the last family member, was about 2 days.
Wow.
And they had said on the initial phone call that he had moments left to live. We had to get there as fast as we could.
Yeah.
So 2 days goes by, and here we all are. We're standing around my grandfather's bed. We're like in a semicircle. The whole family's there. And I don't even
Mm-hmm.
recognize this guy. He's got, the gown on, the little crack hangs out the back, and his eyes are sunken, and he's
Yeah.
thin, and
Yeah.
his skin has no color to it. And he's not the man that I knew. He's not the strong, strapping, wearing a tie. He's not that guy.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, and my grandfather says to my stepdad Everett, and my grandfather was military, so he loved dirty jokes. Like him and the boys always told dirty jokes. And so he says to my stepdad, "Hey, will you come over here and tell me my favorite joke?" And so my stepdad walks over there, he leans in, he says, "Al," which is my grandpa's name. He says, "Hey Al, what do you call Moby Dick's father?"
Uh-oh.
Right?
Right.
And my grandpa kind of smiles just a little bit. He says, "What, Everett?" Which is my stepdad. And Everett says, "Papa Boner."
Uh,
Right? And so we all chuckle just a little bit, and the tears come
yeah.
pouring out of our eyes,
Right.
right? It's just one of those moments. And then my grandfather says, "Bring me my wife." And my grandma, who all 4'2" of her, she's this tiny little thing, and she walks over there and she climbs in bed with my grandfather, and he wraps his arms around her, and he passes away.
Mm.
And so the two main things that I took away from that was, one, we are spiritual beings. I'm sorry, you can't argue with me. I won't argue with you, because science cannot explain to me how my grandfather, who had moments left to live, was able to wait 2 days until the last family member showed up. He was able to get told his favorite joke, and he was able to wrap his arms around his wife and die in peace. Science cannot explain that to me. We are spiritual beings. I understand we all have different beliefs. I'm cool with that, but we are spiritual beings. We are not just flesh and blood. Start there. But the second thing that I learned is we're most comfortable in life right before death. Because you see, there was a moment where the light came back in my grandfather's eyes, where the color came back in his skin, where it seemed as though he filled back up. In that moment, as he was getting told the joke, and in that moment, as his wife was in his arms, he was grandpa again.
Yeah.
He was grandpa, and all the pain went away, and he was comfortable. You could tell he was so comfortable in that moment right before he passed. And it was a tiny, brief moment. It was short. It wasn't long, but I caught it, and it blazed into my brain that we are most comfortable in life right before death. And I don't know about you, Chris, but I'm not ready to die yet.
Yeah.
Too many people are seeking comfort. I just want to be comfortable. I just need enough to be comfortable. I just want a comfortable house and a comfortable wage. And I just want comfortable. And let the government give me my unemployment so I can be comfortable, right? Everybody's seeking comfort. And I'm here to tell you, if you're ready to die, then seek comfort. If you're not ready to die yet, then you need to seek the situations where you're uncomfortable. That's where the growth is. You got to stretch, man.
Yeah.
You got to keep pushing yourself, keep learning, keep growing, keep pushing. That's living. There is no life in comfort. So that would be the one message I'd want everyone to take away. You are most comfortable in life right before death. And if you're not ready to die yet, you better go get uncomfortable.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because we're always growing until the end. I mean, we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be exactly where we should be unless we've given up on that growth and the potential that's there for us. I love that. I think it's a great mark to leave. So, Glenn, again, thank you so much for being on Pencil Leadership today and just sharing all this great knowledge about leading, listening, encouraging, advising, developing, doing it daily. And then just finding how you can impact people, no matter where you are, no matter your position. And if you're not ready to die, then get out and start being uncomfortable and growing. So I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet,
and I look forward to your continued growth with everything you're doing.
Yeah, same here, Chris, man. Like, keep crushing, bro. You're in the podcast world. I love your mic. I love your backdrop. Love your setup,
appreciate
dude.
it.
Love the way you're doing interviews. So just keep going, bro. The world needs you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.